Hello, I'm Stuart Bloor and that's the canal behind me, and I'm here for a night's carp fishing. First thing I did was get the shelter up when I arrived because it was raining, and so I needed to keep my gear nice and dry as I got the rest of the stuff set up. So shelter's up. In fact, the camcorder is in the shelter right now and I'm out here getting slightly wet, but not that bad really. Okay, next step, get the seeds out. Looks like brown crumb there. Well, it is. Underneath you can see my favourite pigeon conditioner seeds. So I'm going to mix in with that some dip. What we dip our boilies in, I also put it in the PVA bags as well, but thirdly I put it in with the mix, the seeds and the crumb. Gives that little bit of extra flavour, and of course when you're fishing, particularly this sort of fishing that I'm doing here now, confidence is the key word. I've got one rod out, probably see that there over my shoulder, just about to put the other one out. PVA bag with pellets and boilies in. In the article I'll talk about the bait, I'll talk about the pigeon conditioner seeds, and for those of you who live where I do in the Black Country, I'll tell you where I get them from as well, so you'll be able to get yourself a sack of really cheap, great bait, not only for carp, but I use it for barbel as well. So there's the bag, about to go out. Sun has set now. It's quite a murky sort of evening, so boats are all moored up. Here's to a good night's carp fishing. It's a waiting game now. Everything's out and all I can do is sit back and wait for that carp to take the boilie. I mentioned earlier that you can read about the bait in the article. For those of you who have been following my angling journal for some years, since 2003 I've been doing a weekly article, and then for the last few years following the videos, what I'm actually doing from this week onwards is that the video and the article are going to be equal partners. AV, article, video, equal partners. In the past I've always put the emphasis on the article, and the video has sometimes been just a trailer of seconds really. Other times it's been what we would call more of a full video. But from this week they will actually complement each other. So the questions I get asked, what bait did you catch it on, from the article, well, they'll probably find the answers in the video, and likewise the people who ask the video questions, the answers will probably be in the article. So the article and the video will be complementary, two perfect pieces of the jigsaw fitting together. If I could use only one word to describe the night, it would be chub. And if I could use several words, it would be chub, 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 chub. That's exactly what it's been. No carp at all. I'm breaking down now, and as always, I'm going to leave the rods and the net till last, because you never know, do you? I'm back on the same canal, but I'm in a different place. In fact, I am some miles away from the spot where I did the overnighter on session 1. This is the place where, if you follow my angling journal on a regular basis, this is the place where I caught the 2 common carp from quite recently. And so I'm here just for the evening. I will fish into dark, and I know that there are at least 2 carp in here, and being as I'm only fishing for 1 at a time, well, the odds are definitely in my favour, aren't they? My bait and my tactics pretty much the same as before. I have changed one of the pop-ups and I'll write about that in the article, but the rods are out. It's a lovely evening. Hopefully the boats have stopped coming through. One came through just as I arrived. Hopefully the boats have ceased now for the night and I can have a cup of tea. I probably drink more cups of tea than I catch fish, but you've got to do something while you're waiting for these very elusive canal carp, haven't you? I've got a fish on here. It's on my pop-up rod. I'm just waiting because I think it's a bream. I say I'm waiting because if it's a carp, yeah, then obviously it'll it'll go off and it was just a liner or whatever. But no, it's a bream. Bringing it in now. Just a small one, but I'll show it to the camera anyway. You can hear it splashing. You can see it there. Not the sort of fish that I would go for when I was after bream, but I think if you were a matchman or a pleasure angler, then definitely worth catching. I'm not a blanker anyway. Right, it's gone back. Let's recast that rod, get that carp. We're well into dark now. I've had no more fish. In fact, the canal has been very, very quiet. But I've just had at least 4 tawny owls in the immediate area, and I was very fortunate to see 2 of them in flight, silhouetted against the sky. They've now moved on, so we can't even hear them at all in the distance. They've moved on somewhere else, but that was brilliant. And as an angler, I feel very connected with the natural world around me, and certainly being interested in what goes on in that natural world, for me anyway, it brings that extra dimension to the actual fishing. I'm back and I'm into a fish, and I've got the feeling that this is a bream. It's got a little bit of a pull on it, so it's a decent enough fish, I think. But it's not a big one. Yeah, it's a bream. I'm the bream king. There's the fish. Right into evening now. Darkness is descending. It's probably a couple of pound or so. Quite decent for the canal, I would say. The bream king strikes again. Second one on pop-up. It's now gone midnight and I'm still going strong, pursuing this very elusive canal carp that I'm hoping to catch. This part of the video has now come to an end, and I'm just going to introduce Des Taylor. One of the features of the videos from this week is I'm going to have a guest spot, and so I've asked Des to share with us about corn steep liquor, or CSL as it's commonly referred to. So over to you, Des.
This liquid has been used for many years now, and it's been a great favourite of mine for years. I've talked about it and I'll talk about it again, and that's corn steep liquor. It's a byproduct of corn, and it's a fantastic attractor. It sinks on the bottom, it mists up, and fish absolutely love it. And I use it in ground baits, boilies, all sorts of things. And what I'll do to give it the edge is say the label, which I say the label is the flavour of the boiler that I'm using. Then what I'll do is I'll put a capful of flavour into the corn steep liquor, and that will put that into the ground bait. So it's putting the flavour. Say you're using an M2 boilie or an M1 boilie, say the M1 boilie, which is Frankfurter sausage. That's the flavour of it. You would put Frankfurter, put a capful of Frankfurter into your corn steep liquor, and then you would use that in your ground bait or your PVA mix on a stick mix. So you're getting that same label, we call it label, it's the flavour of the boilie into the swim. It's also quite a nice cheap way of baiting up with some pellet, of giving the flavour of the pellet the same as the boilie. Putting corn steep liquor with your flavour, put a small amount round a bin, put some pellets in, shake it round so you get a coating, so you're getting a coating of pellets with the label of your boilies. A useful tip, catches a lot of fish. This really is a good cheap additive. You know, you're talking about $9.99 for a litre, but that could last you a season, because you're only using a couple of caps into probably, I don't know, probably a couple of kilos of bait, a couple of kilos of ground bait. Super catcher.